Hey guys, welcome back, and in today's video we're going to discuss whether it's easier or harder owning a modified car here in Canada and comparing it to other places around the world. Now, just a little disclaimer, please follow all emission laws in your area. Even if you decide to modify your car, please be aware of some of the consequences that will arise from that fact alone. Now, mostly I'll be covering my hometown here of Toronto, Ontario. Now, I understand in provinces such as Quebec, they have much more rules and enforcement when it comes to modifications. And at one point in time, I read countless articles online. I've seen videos, but one that stuck out to me was this first generation Lexus IS. He was traveling from Ontario, so meaning he had Ontario plates in the car, but he was driving through Quebec on a highway. And wouldn't you guess, he got pulled over. Now, the likelihood of getting pulled over in Quebec for, crazy car modifications is much more higher than it is in Toronto. But even though in Toronto you can still get pulled over for crazy modifications, but I would definitely say the chances are more slim than in Quebec. Now, fast forwarding into my own area, as a local, you'll get to know some regular people. Like I see this guy, I don't want to say almost every day, but every other day. He has a Mark 5 Golf. It is the 2.5 liter. And I do believe that's a 5 cylinder. It's a pretty boring car other than the 5 cylinder kind of being the highlight of it. But anyways, he's got it slammed. It's on some crazy wheels, some aggressive fitment, and he's got some bacon fenders to go with that, alongside Bosuzuku style exhaust. Now, comment down. I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but from my understanding, I thought Bosuzuku was related to Japanese motorcycle gangs, but I actually didn't know it could also mean those crazily styled cars, like those crazy body kits, those exhausts that like extend like more of the height of the car. It's just really crazy. Now, here in my province of Ontario, we had a thing called the Drive Clean program. It was essentially an emissions testing program that came into play in 1999. This had to be done every 2 years if you owned a vehicle, and it was required of you to have a passing mark in order to renew your license plate registration sticker. Although it was pretty clear older vehicles that didn't have certain modern emissions equipment was exempt. However, if this was the case, sometimes a tailpipe emission test will be performed, and it had to fall in a specific range for that make, model, and year of the vehicle. Now, cars from 1996, the OBD2 era, this was kind of a weird thing. They were allowed to have one emission sensor that wasn't operational. Yes, you heard me correctly. However, the main components such as the cat and other stuff had to be fully operational and ready. Now, in case you're wondering, is a check engine light an automatic fail? Yes, it is, but in some rare cases, it's not. A common pattern I saw is when evap systems fail or become faulty, owners would just leave it as is, as it didn't really affect the actual driving performance of the car. Some will pass because of this rule, but fast forward to 2018, this entire program was scrapped, which means this also removed the required emission testings that people had to do every 2 years. Now, this pretty much means that cars that were modified, they didn't have to worry about their cars passing, this rigorous test. Now, hold on one second. This doesn't mean that you're getting away scot-free entirely. A safety inspection must be performed and all emission systems that's on the car currently, meaning they have to go under the car, they look at all the components of the car, the exhaust being the main point in this topic here. They're inspecting everything, and everything has to be in good working order, and it has to be operational for it to pass that inspection. And this is only, let's say, if you're buying a used car, all the equipment, especially the emissions equipment, has to be in good working order. But once you have a car that's modified, you don't have to worry about it since the testing is a thing of the past. But I will say, just be diligent about it. In the US, many states that I know still have similar emissions testing in places. So I guess that makes it a little bit easier in Canada. So I would say it's sort of an equal because there's states that kind of had our previous testing, and then there's states that don't even have emissions testing. So I can say it's kind of an equal there. Now, as I'm located in the Northeast, this means we get pretty cold winters and humid summers that can kind of mimic a day in Florida. This can be a mixed bag for many car guys. Many of them would tell you how horrible the city is, their overuse of road salts, and how much damage it causes to their cars, and even the roads as well. Literally, like here, literally when I was traveling to my part-time job, I usually take back roads because I don't need to take major roads to get there. It's pretty close to my house. I saw new potholes are formed, and that kind of made me feel a little bit angry because I'm subjecting my car to that kind of, well, my suspension to that, damage and abuse. Another camp will probably enjoy it. There's two sides to this. So there's that side, and the other side, they probably will enjoy it because they can fully explore the capabilities of their four-wheel drive car. Let's say if you have an STI, you have a Golf R, you have an Audi product, you can kind of enjoy, the benefits of having a four-wheel drive car because we do have four seasons. Now, like I said before in the beginning of the video, I'm in the GTA area, which is mostly a city environment. There aren't many nice back roads. There's like one or two, like for example, the Forks of the Credit, and this one here just on the city's eastern limits. Yeah, it's pretty much less that I could count on one hand. However, we are in proximity to a couple racetracks, such as the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the Grand Brand, can't even pronounce this right, the Grand Bend Motorplex, Cayuga Motor Speedway, and the Grand Bend Dragway, which is just for drag cars. So if you want to have a track day or even rent a sports car for a couple of laps, you most certainly can. This may be the best thing for a car guy, as many other places I know don't even have access to a track like at all. And they probably do, but it's just way too far. It's a hassle. You kind of have to plan it like days out in advance. Now, we can compare this to New York City, which really, they don't really have, again, a racetrack, and you really have to go out of your way to find a track, or you're pretty much here, let's say if you're located somewhere else, that, oh, this track is shutting down because of noise regulations or something like that, which is an ongoing trend with tracks closing. There's kind of less and less places for car guys to actually drive and enjoy their cars to the fullest potential. Now, Europe and Japan are home to some of the world's most iconic racetracks and some of the best back roads on earth. That's just my opinion. While this is true, when it comes down to owning an actual enthusiast cars, you are actually pretty limited when it compares to modifications, despite, seeing photos like this and that. When it comes to actually owning a car, like places like Germany, even though it's home to the iconic Nürburgring, they have very strict laws when it comes to modifications. You have to meet TÜV regulations. You have to get approval from the German authorities. So let's say if you get coilovers, you get this, a turbocharger, an exhaust. They all have to be approved by the authorities. And modified cars, let's say you did everything right, and when everything's said and done, they're subjected to higher insurance premiums and vehicle tax. This is pretty much, for me, this is pretty complex. It's complicated, expensive, and time consuming. And if you think Germany is tough, try Singapore, a place where a basic Toyota Corolla, I'm not talking about, a GR Corolla or a Corolla with just a muffler on it, just a regular old commuter Corolla. This will run you about $60,000. Now, that sounds wild, but it's pretty much designed to persuade people to take public transportation instead of driving. This kind of pisses me off, but it does make sense for an area like that where the public transportation is miles better than what we have in New York City. But if you do decide you want to own an enthusiast car there, you got to have some deep pockets, man. real deep pockets. Not just Toronto, but I think most major places in the US, car meets are definitely a thriving thing in the city. You can attend local car meets, which are often hosted by locals and are often free of charge to attend. You'll see some pretty cool cars, but at the same time, you'll see some pretty riced out and clapped vehicles alongside them. These are the most frequent and most common. Just be aware of the risk that these style of meets carry. Typically and unfortunately, they're often shut down by authorities because of rowdy, immature people who pretty much ruin it for everyone else. I remember like a long ass time ago, there was this guy, like we were at a local car meet. There was this guy in a Hyundai Elantra, like he had some tune on it or whatever. It was just like pop, pop, pop. Literally, a buddy of mine just yelled at the guy, just like, dude, why are you wasting your gas? Just park up your car and watch the other cars. I just started like dying so loud, but you get my point. Going a step above this is private car meets. Now, what do I mean by this? I'm not the best when it comes to explaining things, but I'll do my best to explain it to you guys. Now, private meets have a distinct difference to the first style I just mentioned before. They aren't advertised to the open public. You either have to be a part of a WhatsApp group or you have to hear it like word of mouth. It's very old fashioned, but it's effective to a degree where it sort of weeds out the immature part of crowds. These locations are usually more discreet, where they're less likely to be shut down by the authorities. But if you ask me for my personal opinion, I like these car meets the best. They sort of showcase that underground culture hidden away from mainstream public, even though I'm talking about it here on the internet for you guys. And lastly, the third one is paid car meets, which is kind of obvious. Now, these are open to the public, but it's pretty much only those who are willing to pay the entrance fee. These fees can range from $30 to $100. Yes, I've seen ones that are at some crazy prices. I do recall there was one car meet. I think it was like $200 for a ticket, which is insane for a car meet. I could have heard it wrong, but it was some astronomical price for a ticket, which is kind of crazy. Hell, there's even people right now on Reddit complaining about even spending $20 on a ticket. All in all, I would say I spend the majority of my time going to car meets in probably the second category and the third category, because usually the first ones are pretty cringy. Like it's usually just pretty cringy regular traffic with like some exhaust modifications. Their cars running like garbage, so it's like popping and backfiring like crazy because they think that's pretty cool nowadays. But those are the two styles of car meets that I would attend to, and also those are what happens in the city here mostly. Now, the main question is, or to answer the question, is this the best place to own a modified car, like worldwide? I wouldn't say worldwide, but I would say probably it is one of the best. Not the best, but one of the best. I would say it's more or less better if you own an enthusiast car, as it's pretty relaxed here. If you don't drive like an asshole, you're pretty much in good hands. The ambience and culture, you cannot beat places like Europe and Japan. Heck, if I even go to my own Tumblr pages, there's photos of JDM cars in Japan and a lot of photos in Europe. God, I feel really old talking about Tumblr, but yeah. All right, guys, that's a wrap. And if you made it this far, thanks for watching.